Okay.
Yeah, it's a music
Okay.
podcast.
Here we are.
All right, once again, welcome to the Raw Men Podcast. I'm Aaron Raw. This is Mark Nebo in the same room for once.
First time ever.
Yep, and our last show was a live meeting in Melbourne, Australia. Well, I think it was Melbourne. I get confused.
Somewhere down there.
Yeah, I was talking to the Atheist Foundation of Australia. I'm speaking with some other foreigners today. We have somebody, Cristina Rad from Constantine.
I'm not saying my city. Don't talk no English now. Romania, guys, Romania.
Well, you can't go back to Constantinople.
Okay.
That's what they told me.
You
That's what
got
they told me.
Canadian here too.
We have a live audience today also, which is a new thing. Let's hear some applause.
Yay!
And this episode of the Ramen Podcast is sponsored by ReasonCon, which will be the last week of April in Hickory, North Carolina. Good lineup of speakers from David Fitch, Tracy Harris, David Smalley, among others. You can get tickets at reasonnc.com. Reasonnc.com.
This is what the kind of thing you get when you try to do a live broadcast from a convention. Of course, this is American Atheist National Convention in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm excited to also have with us Ashley Paramore. Ashley, how you
Hello,
doing?
I'm so excited.
So I guess we're the raw women.
You can be. Yeah. We'll go with that.
Raw men. We're both
No,
We
no.
got the new shirt. The new
Okay.
shirt is available. This is the original. We'll never reprint it again.
Good one.
We got the good one.
Sucks to be you now.
So, Ashley, I first met you at TAM a few years ago, and you were working for the Secular Student Alliance.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. This girl was the best at multitasking that I'd ever seen. She was actually
is.
she was having a conversation with me, like surrounded by all of these celebrities and everything. She's having conversations with them too, interjecting in different conversations. At the same time, she was using just her thumb to type on her cell phone a completely different conversation that she didn't have to look at her phone. I was mesmerized. I mean, like, what corporate office doesn't want you working there?
I know. In fact, I'm slowly working on tweeting right now as we're doing this.
So she was one of the first activists that I met that was like self-motivated and all of that. And then actually you weren't working for the Secular Student Alliance. You were still.
Was that before?
Yeah, it was. It was before you were picked up by then.
Huh.
So I was really impressed.
How
With,
long have we known each other?
it's been a few years.
Were you the president of them?
I'm the president.
Was you the president of them?
The president of the world.
But that's true. You were running a regular job unrelated to any of your activism. You were self-motivated. You were doing all of this on your own. And that's what the Student Alliance picked up on you because you were completely on the ball and snapped to it. Really was very impressive. So this is the reason why I wanted you to talk is to tell people about how they can become activists and what they can do to get into things.
Mhm.
Can you say anything about that?
Oh my God. I can say like a
Or do
million
we
things.
need to change
That's
the subject?
so broad. I know nothing about group starting and running at all. No, I mean, I guess it really depends, what the droids are that you're looking for. I mean, so I first got involved with student group stuff. That was kind of, I guess not student group stuff. I started a local group and got involved in student stuff, and that was kind of my gateway drug, if you will. But I think the you're confusing me. I think that the biggest thing is if you're coming into it, first you want to figure out what your niche is in big atheism or local atheism. I call it everything big atheism. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. What is the thing that you care about most? It is for people that don't have it. Maybe you live in, not that Memphis, Tennessee is a small town USA, but like if you live somewhere in the middle of nowhere, you want to provide community. You want to know that you're doing that. Focused on faith healing from a Christian Science background or something. I guess
Is that a thing?
the Christian Science.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I live in
weird. I guess
Texas.
it's not
Oh
even
my God.
technically faith healing now that I think about
I've
it.
actually
They just don't
met
believe
people in
medicine.
Texas who don't believe in not just Obamacare, they don't believe in medicine.
But it really is about finding your niche and then just zoning in and focusing on that and using the internet. I'm a big fan of meetup.com if you want to start a group. That was like huge changing. I want to say life changing, but it was huge for me when I started an off-campus group. It really made it because people look to the internet first now for everything. I'm getting the thumbs up. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that really impressed
Our
me.
audience is great.
Yeah, thumbs up from the audience. Always encouraging.
One of the things that really impressed me about Ashley as a motivation, she wasn't how connected she was, and it was just and it was not surprising that you had a secular group that picked you up and had you working full time to do this, and that's a dream a lot of people had. I wanted my passion to be my income at the same time. This is what I want to do all the time, and you were the first person I knew to actually do that. So congrats, you.
One from the middle of nowhere.
She's literally from the middle of nowhere.
So I was at this party once upon a time where people were talking about the face of atheism and what people could best promote atheism. And they were talking about James Randi, they were talking about Richard Dawkins. And I said, are you guys aware of this? This girl was sitting at the time. She was completely unknown except for a few YouTubers. She's sitting in some third world country on the other side of the Iron Curtain.
Second world country. Hey, we're getting there.
And she was doing these on the other side of what we used to imagine as the Iron Curtain. And her content was consistently funny and original and accurate and motivating. And everybody I knew that was aware of her absolutely loved her stuff. And she mentioned in a video once upon a time that she had never been out of her country except for one trip to Bulgaria, which is basically the same thing.
Took me 2 hours to get there.
But once the powers that be discovered her, they flew her to New York, to Las Vegas, sat her between Neil deGrasse Tyson and Richard Dawkins.
Oh, that was a moment.
Then back to Times Square. So I'm sure she believes.
Yeah, that was the moment actually. My life was downhill from what can you do after that?
Well, what can you do after that? So once they flew her back home, now think about this. She just had a regular job. She's a regular person, completely unknown in her own country. She's a celebrity sitting between famous people on television. Then she's back in her home world. They sent her to Switzerland after that, and then Australia after that, again, sitting with famous celebs and put her on television. So she's kind of a rising star in that.
Following star or fallen.
Okay, well, that's how you got started, and I just wanted to hear more about how you got involved in everything that you. What motivated you to get started doing these videos?
Honestly, one of the person who motivated me was her. I mean, I loved her videos, and I was watching YouTube and Standard Food at the time. So there was the blasphemy challenge that I wanted to respond to, and I had no intention of continuing to make videos like that, or making a living off of this. That never crossed my mind. That I just wanted to talk to somebody who would listen, because back home, I cannot talk to people about anything that I care about. We end up, So it was nice to find the community that, they would give me feedback and asking for more videos, and I don't understand why, but I'm happy they did.
And I think that the blasphemy challenge was a gateway drug for a lot of us, because that was my first video, and I don't know how many.
And my first
did you do that, or was that before?
I
or
was
after
a blasphemer from the very beginning.
Well, I know. I mean, that's fair.
Just being
But,
born was a blasphemy challenge.
Yeah, but for me, it was a big deal because everybody thought back home that I'm going through this phase and I will get over it, and the only sin that cannot be forgiven, right? So I just wanted to prove a point, because if you're going through just a phase and you're still having doubts and all that, you're not gonna blaspheme against the Holy Spirit. You're going to hell, man. So if there's 1% of you still believing in that crap, you're not gonna do it. So I was basically, trying to show them that no, this is not a phase. I'm serious about this. That's our awesome audience. Yay!
Yay for the audience!
So yeah, it just snowed. And that's them.
We have a very lively audience.
Right.
American atheist.
That's what you said.
Now, what I want to know, and you just barely touched on this, but I've always been curious about this. Since I'm an American, I don't know that there are places in not America. I don't know what
Call
happened.
it not America.
So the
Well,
background,
not
where
America.
you can't, you've heard that term, right? No? Okay, fine.
Not America.
I'm sorry.
All right, so in your environment, I don't know anything about it. You say you can't talk to people, right? Give me some kind of flesh that out.
It's
a
very
little bit.
frustrating. I mean, you know, I have friends and we can go out and have fun, but as soon as we start talking about something that actually really matters, it's so frustrating because, like, I don't want to be that person who keeps on bashing their country. I'm not a nationalist, but whatever, it's not nice. But we are, as a people, very, very, I mean, we hate everything that's not white, straight, and Christian, right? So
you're on the Texas school board.
pretty much. Yeah, like 50 years ago.
Okay.
No, that's
So-
today, honey.
2 months ago.
And it can be very lonely, especially, I mean, for me, it was a big transition because I was very religious. I don't know how religious you guys were, but I would go to church 3 times a week. I was doing all that spiel. And for me, it took me a while to lose my religion, like on my own. And it was lonely because you do feel like you don't have a parachute when you're used to praying every night and you have that connection with God, and then you lose it, you feel lost for a while. But it was a lot better, like, after I found the online community, which sounds lame, but it's not. It's the best community ever because you get to meet and find out so much about people from all over the country with all sorts of views that you would never, ever, ever meet in your life. So YouTube changed my life.
Yeah, if I could just throw a little something in there. I come from a background of people who very often they want to talk about hunting, fishing, and football, and that's
I'm
it.
sorry, can you speak English? I don't understand.
I've actually spoken with my own family members and said, "Do you know what you sound like? Do you hear yourself?" But yeah, they don't talk about history that goes beyond Grandpappy's memory.
Right.
They don't talk about anything that happens in not America. It has to directly relate to them, or they don't care. There's no discussion of science except where they discuss the foibles of science from what they misunderstood from what they read in an article. You know, I ain't gonna get no vaccination, that causes autism. That's the background I come from. So it was really great to meet people who think about important matters. I've talked to people who say that if it doesn't directly relate to how much food they put on their plate, they don't need to know it. And I don't understand
Wow.
incurious people. But I've met people like that, and I'm guessing that's what you're describing, just with a different accent.
It's a fake accent, by the way. I'm trying to be more interesting. I'm not from Romania. Yeah.
I actually hired her all these years ago. So,
But she doesn't pay me. I do it pro bono.
No boner.
Which will be another video airing later on.
Episode 21 of the Ramen Podcast.
redtube.com/the ramen podcast.
That's where I was going with that.
Right. Good. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I grown up.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
You have anything to add to that? How did you guys meet each other online or whatever? I mean, was it...
Oh, can I say the story? Because I
No,
don't
go by all means.
I don't even know if you remember it, because for me it was such an important
No.
moment in my
You've
life.
told me a million times, so go.
I
Flatter my ego already.
right.
Is this
It's all lies. So that's what she pays. Yeah, I was a big fan. Like she was one of the people who motivated me to do my own videos. I saw her blasphemy challenge. All of a sudden she contacts me and I completely freaked out. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, that's the story. Very interesting. But it was love at first typing.
Love at first type.
Yeah.
Love at first video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Video.
But no, I do remember that, and I do remember reaching out to you because I saw something that you had done, and I thought it was really, really cool.
And you were
it's-
supposed to come to Romania, if I remember right.
No.
Or to Europe
or I
somewhere.
went out to Europe, and then I realized I'm paying for college, so that got fucked up. But instead, you came here, so that's perfect.
And it's a funny thing that I went to a conference in Florida, and two of the women that were in the assembly of people that were just involved in that happened to be friends of yours on some other network. What did they? I can't remember what the stick cam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, they were-
basically
Wow,
dead
remember
now, right?
that? Wow.
That was nice. My God. Yeah.
Was
Those
that
are
before or
all
after
days.
vlogs?
Right, that was way back.
Do you remember? Because I think I contacted you at that time and sent you pictures. Look who I'm with. They know you.
That was another story that I was just telling somebody today. Because when you subscribed to me and you commented on my page, because I was a big fan of you too, And I again completely flipped out. I was, oh my God, it's the guy with the hair and the brain and the talking in the videos.
She said that on the drive over.
I was such a
That exact sentence, I've heard that before.
Right. Very
That's
true.
not even a lie.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a 100%.
No, but yeah, those were good moments in my life. Yeah.
If you haven't checked
These
out
guys.
Cristina Rad's videos, are you still known on YouTube
I'm
as?
not known, but yeah, Cristina Rad. I don't necessarily recommend it. You may get traumatized.
they still
Which-
find you as on gets Chris though, right?
Are you on YouTube as Zumgits Chris or Cristina Rad?
If you type Cristina Rad with no H, because we hate H's in Romania.
Except they
So
call them
Cristina was no
H's there.
Yeah, right. If you type Cristina Rad, sorry.
Her stuff is consistently funny and generally good.
I still feel
It's
like
way better than that schmucks.
Yeah.
I still feel like the Holy Spirit talking to God is the best video you ever did.
Oh,
That's
I
my
love
favorite.
those ones.
That's my
Those
favorite.
are so much fun to like. You have no idea, like, because those are kind of the only videos I make a script for. The ones where I play roles, like
Yeah.
I love
I'm
those.
God, I was Muhammad, I was the Holy Spirit. Like those are so much fun to film, to make the script, to edit. Those are the best videos. I like. To make
I do
them.
enjoy those where you have the camera on you and you're like wearing a hijab and then you
You know how I made that hijab? It was a scarf, and I literally had my underwear on my. I shit you not. I couldn't find, the thing.
That's
the
gotta
hijab.
be a first. I don't know if anybody else has heard that.
I don't know that that's the proper way to wear a hijab.
Yeah,
I've never had underwear
I
on
mean,
my
I
head
was
on video.
laughing on the inside the entire time, just knowing that. Like, it was so hilarious.
So when was the first time you had your underwear on your head?
I mean,
You mean today?
what she said.
Right. I want to ask about this. This is not anything we've talked about yet. I want to talk about the homophobic pizza parlor that closed down, GoFundMe, and now has $800,000 raised by homophobic supporters.
What's the homophobic pizza parlor? I've never heard of that.
Memories Pizza. They came out in Indiana. We're the first ones to come out and say, we're going to support this religious rule that says we can buy pizza. They got shut down because their website got hacked by the activists. And then they put up their GoFundMe because they shut themselves down, and they had $800,000 raised in like 2 days.
So
We're
they're-
homophobes.
So they're opening
Where
a
are
new
people at?
they're opening a new bigoted pizza shop. Is that the deal?
Yeah, well, a much nicer one. now,
Yeah, they-
because they have all the money.
All right.
But put this in context. I mean, they were saying that they were not going to cater any homosexual wedding where they wanted pizza.
Right.
And so somebody said it's
Because a
not.
classic
Because
wedding, man.
pizza, it's
I-
a thing at gay weddings. Everybody knows
That's what
that.
they said. What
That's all they do. Pizza.
what
at weddings.
homosexual couple wants your pizza?
What?
It's not like they actually had to deny it. Nobody's going to ask. But because they said this, they get a whole lot of haters sending them money, and I'm really upset about that. I mean, when I heard about this law, I was in Australia, and every day some people comes up and gives this is what they passed in this state today, and then the
This
next
is what
day
happened
we get
in
in
the
this
US.
other state. What's wrong with your country? You know that today they passed this thing where atheists can no longer adopt children, and today they've got it in another state where atheists can't get married. You have to have a religious wedding, and then the thing with Indiana, right? And all of this time they're saying, "What's wrong with your country?" And I'm having to apologize. I would love to be the proud American, say my country's the best damn country. No, I can't do what my dad used to do. Because we're run by idiots.
You're not only American, you're Texan, which is even better. Shit.
Thanks.
You gotta defend your state.
It was really embarrassing. I go to Ireland, I go to Australia. In both cases, they know who the director of my board of education is. I don't know theirs, but they know mine. Why? Because he's a moron. They know our governor because he's evil. And they have huge notoriety because they make the stupidest decisions imaginable.
Scaling back to like the whole pizza 800 grand thing, which is insane, right?
Whoa.
As much as I look at that and I find myself really, really frustrated with it, these people are dishing out money as fast as I can because they're scared and because we're fucking winning.
Yeah.
The tide is turning when it comes
Right.
to like LGBT equality and everything else, and you can't just say, well, you know, those gays, am I right? Without getting a ton
Am I right?
of hate.
And
And like it's frustrating, but we're winning. And like 800 grand, frustrating. But
All right.
fuck them, they're scared.
No, it might be a matter of opinion, of interpretation. When she says that we're winning, what do we have to back that up? Well, one of the things we have to back it up is that the guy, Pence, I think his name was, who actually submitted the bill, resigned. Why? Because Walmart and NASCAR said that's too bigoted. We ain't.
Yeah, NASCAR. That's true.
Walmart and NASCAR.
Dude, if
When
NASCAR
NASCAR says you're fucked up, you are fucked up.
Robert still said that Ken Ham was too crazy.
Shit, man.
I may have a
and that's how
little
you know
bit-
things are changing.
I may have a little bit of a different opinion on this
Uh-oh,
whole
here's where it starts.
legislation with the being illegal to discriminate against whoever. Like I'm very on the fence because on one hand I do support the right of private properties to do whatever they want and refuse service to customers. I mean, look, you have this thing where you go to fancy restaurants and you have to wear certain clothes. You cannot go there wearing jeans, which is a thing that I only heard about when I came here.
And we
I'm
should
like,
light them on fire.
like in a way, that's discrimination against poor people, right? Because what if I don't have that much of nice clothing, but I want to blow my salary on a dinner with my wife to be, and I should be able to
Video
do
at
that.
11.
However, this is what I would do. Maybe I would let them do that, but I would make them have a sign where they say, we don't offer service to gays. I would be curious
Hi.
if they would be supported by all the other customers.
Hi, I hate black people and I don't serve your kind. Here's my son. Like,
Right.
reality is that's not gonna happen. The problem, this is where I'm gonna argue against you on this, is because in concept, I'm gonna be like, business, they do, but
I know.
think of when it came to, and of course there's tons of race issues today, blah, 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 but when the tide first started to turn on that, I don't think a lot of these racist bigots would have hired black people if it weren't for the fact that they had to.
And I would not
This
support
societal pressure, and I think it's the same with the LGBT stuff, quite frankly.
it is, and I like on the fence because I do think that today it's not the same thing. Like you said, like even Walmart boycotts them. So I think that once they come out of the closet as like real homophobes, out and open, I think they would be boycotted more so than if they're like silent about
I
it.
think you're right. I think that we've gone far enough now where if people did put up a sign that said we don't serve gays, we've gone far enough, thankfully, where the backlash is worse than the support in a lot of ways.
I would
Now, the
make
800 grand seems crazy, but that's coming
is.
from around the world.
right, and that's
coming
not
from
gonna
the
last
community.
forever, I mean, if, like I said, I'm on the fence, but if they would be allowed to do that, like I would make that mandatory, they would have to have a sign.
Right.
Here's a checklist of all the
We're
different
fucking
bigoted things you could
bigots,
be.
please
Right.
come to our,
Believe it or not, they have that
I
already.
hate black people, gays, and I don't vaccinate.
right.
Well, they kind of have that already because there's
Let
a
me
lot of
spend some
businesses.
money there.
There are a lot of businesses that post a sign, legal or not, that says we reserve the right to refuse service
Exactly.
to anyone for any reason.
Exactly, and they can, under that thing, to refuse a service for, I don't know, you look dirty because you're black,
But
whatever.
you might be an asshole, and you might be disruptive, and there might be.
They can make up anything, so.
Right.
And that's what it's for, but it can go a lot of different ways. It is for, you're a dick, you're out of here. But it couldn't go any way, really.
But here's one of the problems. If you start labeling in advance that you just hate this demographic or that demographic, I don't know how anybody can justify that. I mean, I was the first time I ever heard of Ted Haggard was before he came out with his.
The guy that was blowing people in the bathroom? Is that the guy?
He's completely heterosexual.
Oh, okay.
The guy that was snorting coke off the ass of the
Okay.
male
I just wanted to verify.
while saying that he was against homosexuals and an advocate for family matters. Why is it that every group that has the name family in it is also registered as a hate group? What's up with that? But anyway, the first time I ever heard of this guy was he was trying to change the Constitution in the state of Colorado in order to deny housing and employment to homosexuals. And that's like the ultimate goal. And his description, the first time I see his face, is he's giving justification of that by saying, as Christians, we reserve the right to treat certain people differently.
Disturbingly good, by the way.
It's not that he doesn't realize that. He does realize
That was
that.
a strong Haggard.
Yeah,
That was a
right.
very
right.
good impression.
Yeah, I'm creeped out.
Can you do some blow off his ass? So I know that it's like,
That would be a hairy, disgusting display.
Okay.
I'm shocked you know that it's Harry.
It's my ass. I know what it
Oh,
looks
wait,
like.
sorry, I forgot. I got you.
Yeah, yeah. It's
All
mine.
white dudes look the same.
I did not
can't-
say anything.
We do look a lot alike. Fairness. Your mustache is better. My beard's better. Your hair is better. You're taller. I'm much better looking.
I mean, this is a hair podcast, basically.
It
You know,
is.
that was just the introduction.
Your hair is really nice. So
Yeah,
it works
I know.
out. It worked out. Thank you for
Okay, we've
coming.
just gone down.
To the after show, we're gonna braid each other's hair.
Boom. Perfect.
Okay, so I watched one of these right-wingers saying that we need to take back the word bigot and wear it proudly.
What?
Wait,
Yeah.
What?
wait, please label yourself.
I don't even
It's gonna make my life way easier.
I swear, like, these people are so undistinguishable from satire. I cannot even tell sometimes. Like, a lot of times, I cannot.
That does sound like the Onion, doesn't
It does, yeah. Poe's law, and you can't parody this. And
it?
even if you do come up with a parody,
What can you do?
it doesn't matter how bizarre or stupid it is, someone will believe it.
Right,
Case in
right.
point, right? Christians Against Dinosaurs. It's a joke website. But who was their spokesperson? Someone who didn't know it was a joke.
That's completely made my day.
Yeah.
Like that.
I thought she was a Poe.
I did too. But in the pre-show, she confessed to me she doesn't know what Poe means. I checked her background. She really wasn't. She's connected to all these Christian groups. Everybody else in that website is connected to atheist groups. They're on my friends list.
That was
But
an
she was
interesting
not.
situation in general.
She was sincere. She was a
And you know what?
believer.
I would still suspect her of being a very, very good convincing Poe, maybe just trying to fuck with everybody for 5 years. But the point is that people in the comments are believing her and supporting her and all. So it doesn't even matter if what she says she really believes it or not. A lot of people do, apparently.
Is she friends with Ken Ham?
She attached her real identity
Probably.
to this joke, right? And she lost a job over it. She's a single mother.
So she's dedicated.
She's a single mother who had a very good career. I've seen her resume, and she ruined that over the. How do you defend that? What? How did you? Why did you? I told
And
her,
I wear it proudly.
yeah, I'm a director of education, which she was.
Director of
Wait, so
I'm
what-
not
what-
kidding.
She was a director of education, like at a high school.
No, it was a corporate thing. But it was,
At a
yeah,
college.
it was a different corporation. She was a director of education, and yet she was telling everybody that dinosaurs never existed. That it was all a big fraud by big science.
Or maybe by education you mean the Christian Science that I just heard
Who
about
knows?
half hour ago.
Who knows? But the thing was, after our interview, right, the website that she was with at the time made all kinds of parody responses that were so obviously insincere. These are obvious jokes, right?
Right.
We expected that. What did she do? Nothing. She disappeared. So all of her information
Wow.
was available on the web, and it's all gone. And I think she figured out that she was the butt of somebody's
That's-
joke. The community that she dedicated her to used her as the butt of their joke at the cost of her job.
That doesn't make
Like,
us.
I'm not even
I mean,
sorry
I-
at all.
That makes me feel really shitty, actually. You made me feel bad. I didn't have anything to do with it.
She's demonstrably wrong, but like I almost feel really bad.
That's
for
what I'm
her.
saying.
And I
Like, especially
That's
she has a kid that she has to support, and she's.
I feel
she said
sorry about the
dinosaurs are,
kid
like,
for
bullshit.
being born to her in the first place.
Okay,
Like that.
she was really nice in the pre-show, and I feel bad for her. At the same, when I pointed out, well, she said that her primary argument was that Sir Richard Owen had invented the word dinosaur years before they found any dinosaur fossils. So I gave her the dates for the 3 different dinosaur species that were found before he made that term, and that he based his term on those fossils, that he took the diagnostic characters that were in common with all these fossils and came up with a categorization. And so she said, well, maybe those fossils belong to some other animal we just haven't found yet. 'Cause you don't have to
Dragons, man, dragons, a real thing.
But if it's based on the skeletons they have and the traits of the skeletons, no matter what the animal is, it still classifies. It's still a down.
I tell
She
you what.
knew she was wrong and knuckled down anyway.
It's like Ken Ham too. Did you ever see the video like when the Creation Museum first opened and there was the guy that it was in the wheelchair and it was a big facade and he pretended that he had some mental something, but he got Ken talking about carbon dating and how Ken was like, oh, it could only date back 50,000 years. Which completely refutes anything in that fucking Creation Museum.
Didn't you get kicked out of that place?
I didn't. Some Canadian kid did.
Because I know
50,000 years.
But I
is
filmed
enough.
it.
That's
yeah,
right.
you made a video about that.
You were there for that, right? When the
I wasn't there for
We
that.
need to make a video of you in the Creation Museum.
I'd love to go to the creek. Don't
But
let me in.
On
they
location.
don't let you film inside, from what I
they
hear.
let you film, you can't film their videos. No, I got this down. I'm like, when I lived in Ohio, I was like the fucking atheist tour guide for that. Like anyone that wants to give money to the Creation
That's a
Museum for
great
some strange
one.
reason. Here's what I will say about it. I think you should go. And the reason that I think you should go, or anyone that's in the Cincinnati area, is if you are not a science advocate, atheist activist now, that place will make you one. Because I went there as part of a protest when it opened. And this sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. Like, I went through it with the group so we could get the group discounts and we were giving them less money. I literally felt dumber when I got to the other side. Only because, like, it's just so absurd.
I think
It's so absurd that not even the religious thing, forget the whole religious thing, but
Excuse
the
me.
science, quote unquote, that they're peddling is horrendous. So you need to go. Yes,
Going-
go take your video camera.
Going
Do it.
to the Creation Museum is like drinking hard for a week straight. It's gonna fucking kill some brain cells.
Well, that happens when
I
I'm
feel my
listening.
IQ dropping
Right.
just listening.
That happens when I'm listening to Ken Ham alone, and it happens when I listen to any of his underlings. And I especially like to take when he has scientists working for him and take what they say and compare it and see how they contradict each other. Andrew Snelling, for example,
Yeah.
and Paul Garner, who both said that Acanthus dega can't be a transitional species. Snelling said it was because the legs were not adapted for walking. It was clearly designed for swimming, and the Garners be a transitional species because the legs were fully developed to support its weight. And so it couldn't have been so anytime you get creationists arguing that it's 100% on both sides of whichever division at the same time, that's how you know it's a transition.
Pro tip, if you're a Christian apologist, do not fuck with our end. That's the lesson learned today, folks.
Pro tip, if you're a Christian apologist, get out of this blog.
I saw Ken
Get out of
Ham
our
give a
podcast.
description. He talks about how you have to believe in the salvation, right? The second half of the Bible. So in order to believe the second half of the Bible, you have to believe in the first half of the Bible where it talks about creation. So he wants to believe in salvation, so he makes believe in creation. The reason that he believes, he does the God glasses thing, he said, which is just another word for bias. So that, oh, now I understand, you put on your God glasses and you can't have fossils before sin because there was no death before sin. So you just jump to your conclusions, refuse to be reasoned with, and assert falsehoods as fact.
We're all just listening to you, Aaron, at this point.
Preach it! Preach it, brother!
Fucking A, man.
Yeah, I'm going to actually do one of these presentations. I've several upcoming conferences, and one of them, I'm going to do the whole evangelical spiel.
I have a new
You
subject.
should get
What's
together
that?
with Jerry DeWitt.
Yes.
You guys would roll together.
So, did you guys hear about Joel Osteen's $600,000 heist?
How did I miss this?
Joel Osteen, everybody's favorite preacher, right?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Had
I have a different pick.
second favorite.
Second favorite preacher had $600,000 in cash stolen from his safe in his church in Houston, I believe.
Again, I do not feel
And-
bad.
So the most interesting thing is not only did $600,000 get stolen, but that was from one weekend. In cash only. That's not talking about merchandise
So
sales. That's not talking about
that's what they did
online
in a weekend?
donations. That's just the fucking basket going around.
So
And why do we
Christians,
still give churches see-through stuff?
Because Austin's got to have that fucking $1 million smile.
so Christians,
why.
if you remember that part of the Bible where Jesus walks in and says, "You turned my house of worship into a den of thieves," go through that in detail about what Jesus says about it while you're touring Olstein's church, because it's a 16,000 seat stadium sanctuary to start with, and it has books about a bookstore and gift shop. And
Have you been to it?
yes,
Austin, if you want to come on the show, come on the show.
me and Matt Dillahunty and Thunderfoot toured that church, and we got a lot trying to get.
Where's the church guy?
Right. That's how you make $600,000 on a
What
day.
is that, a fucking Vatican?
It was a big church.
It might actually be more expensive to do that.
And you look at, like I said, you look at the $600,000 in cash. You look at all the people that are stuck at home that watch Joel Osteen's Pearly Whites every weekend, and you think about how much they submit over the phone and on the internet. You're talking easily $1 million
So when we
A
went
week.
through this church,
just from that church.
so when we went through this
And
church,
it got stolen, which is something. But sorry, I'm so pumped up because $600,000
Don't need
in
that
cash.
dressing
I mean,
or
to
something.
be fair-
Damn.
Thou shalt not steal.
True. I'm not.
okay.
Well,
Speaking of "Thou shalt not kill," since you brought up Reverend Creflo Dollar, why is he called Dollar? Very good reason. He has his own Learjet, which was given
What's
to
a
him.
Learjet?
Learjet, a very fast, small plane. He has a 20 million, like 8, something like
Yeah.
that.
Plenty.
It's a corporate bigwig kind of plane. He said he needs that because the airlines don't fly his. Creflo Dollar makes $80 million a year.
Is there any alcohol in this?
His house is worth $3 million.
Christina's like, I need a
Seriously,
fucking
I'm from
drink.
Romania. Like, we don't have that much money in our country right
That's
now.
more money than your country
It
has.
gets
That's
better.
the GDP of Romania.
It gets better.
No!
A couple years ago, got in trouble with the police for beating his daughter, and was just recently
Oh,
arrested.
That's not better.
Wait, question. What was she wearing?
Did she deserve it?
No!
And most recently, the $80 million a year guy was arrested for stealing from his own church.
The fuck?
Well, at least he could pay for his lawyers to clear his name, right?
And I gotta believe
Oh.
that Creflo ain't got shit on Joel Osteen, right? Really? I mean, I didn't know about Creflo Dollar until the plane thing.
Now, you mentioned
Osteen's fucking everywhere, man.
you mentioned favorite preachers. My favorite was actually what is his name? He was in Dallas. He's no longer in business.
He's your favorite, you should know.
I'm getting old, and my memory is getting all fuzzy.
Jesus loved me yesterday.
He was there was a soundbite of him. Head sampled this guy in one of their albums on the song "Bad Religion," and you can and as soon as you
If
hear,
you know, tweet at the Ramen Podcast.
he said one of my favorite statement from this guy was, "Let's say you want to worship Jesus with $500. Let's say you want to worship Jesus with $1,000."
You're doing, oh my god.
He's known on the internet as the farting preacher because they
The
have
what?
the farting preacher because he does all these weird things, and so somebody
The
spliced a
barking
whole bunch.
spiders.
They spliced a whole bunch of these videos together, so every time he goes, "Ah," you hear.
Oh my god.
You
So-
remind me of Jim Carrey's Jimmy Swaggart impression.
Yeah, I can't believe I can't remember this guy. So what happened with this guy? Bobby Tilton, thank you. So
Oh, yeah.
The audience comes through. Good
Thank
job.
you, Mike,
this
to the
guy,
audience.
Oh, wait. That was Brian Fields from PAAtheist.org. Atheistpa.org.
Fuck
Go to
it
the
up.
website. Come see me. I'm actually the MC, and we will be doing a live ramen podcast from the conference. Okay, because you give us a great answer. All right.
I have to know, because as someone that has a favorite preacher that's near and dear to my heart, if either one of you two have heard about this person, I don't know if you have. Unfortunately, they don't make the $80 million a year. But because I went to the Ohio State University, I was a frequent fan of Brother Jed and Sister Sally. Do you guys know these people?
No.
Oh my God, you guys will have to look it up on YouTube.
You gotta
If you
tell
don't know
us
about it,
about
I can't say a lot. But they're crazy and they're old and they've been doing this for years. But my favorite thing about Brother Jed is he has like this multi-power kind of outlet. So you got the male side over here, and then it's got a 3-pronged female side of the plugs on the other side. And he has a song about it's not okay to be gay, but he goes first with the power outlets and explain, here, over here is the penis, and over here
And he does it like
the
this?
woman. Well, he does this. He's around college kids, right? He's milking the cow. It's like there are 3. It's funny.
He goes
You
with the
mentioned
technical term for mouth and vagina, but he goes with
I
slang for asshole.
don't even remember exactly how he was it, but it's funny that he mentions the 3 orifices and then doesn't. Gay men don't have mouths and assholes.
Okay,
We
so
do.
Anyway, you guys need
We
to check out
have
each other.
to
He's my
know.
favorite.
just a real quick closure on Bobby Tilton. He had this huge scam, obviously, where he's bringing in all this money for this orphanage in Haiti that was later discovered never to have existed.
I
And
heard about this.
yeah, and so he was brought up on charges because, well, of a whole lot of things. There's a huge documentary exploiting him on, showing the kinds of stuff that he did, like people sending prayer notices, whatever, and checks of less than $5 were thrown in the trash along with everything that was sent with them. He was supposed to, he promised that if you put your hand here and give $5 or $10, whatever, that he will put his hand there too and pray for you. And a bunch
What
of
fucking?
But anyway, and he's kind of like he's sending all this. Anyway, hundreds of millions of dollars this guy made. And then they brought him up on charges, and he was going to go to trial in Austin for the way he was exploiting all of these people. And so he changed his church to the first ever for-profit church. And he did this the night before the court case. So he shows up in trial, and there are school buses full of his followers supporting him, believing him to be innocent, until they sit in the courtroom and find out that he had done this the night before. Very shortly, Bobby Tilton disappeared once they discovered that his orphanage never existed, and reportedly he now lives in a yacht somewhere in Florida under an assumed name.
Oh, poor him.
But it gets better.
I mean, to be fair,
Better.
yacht life is really hard. You get seasick.
Barnacles. Yeah.
So you mentioned the husband and wife.
Terrible.
Sunburns.
You mentioned the husband and wife group. I want to mention ours in Dallas, Kevin and Gloria Copeland,
Yeah.
who live in a $20 million house.
Yeah,
They run the Believer's Voice of Victory.
Yeah. I remember that when I was
A very disturbing show. So they were curing people of cancer. And the way that divine powers work is when you claim you're a faith healer and you marry somebody, you will make more money if she's a faith healer too. So go out there and cure cancer. And so she would go out and just touch people in the head and say you're cured, right? Well, this is how you rake in the big money. And so they had a follower who really, really believed in them, who was a lottery winner and dying of cancer. What a coincidence, right? Yeah, exactly. So they got $20 million from this dying woman praying to them, essentially, to cure her cancer, which they claimed to do every week on their show. They got $20 million. They bought a Learjet. You know what that is now? No.
Yeah. Crap $1 style.
Which they used to go big game hunting at a special reserve in Texas, and also skiing and all kinds of other inappropriate uses for this donation.
No, I mean it's important to
What's
God.
game hunting? Is like shooting animals?
Yes. They have a ranch. They have a ranch in South Texas around the Presidio area where they imported all kinds of African animals that were interesting and have people come out and pay big money to go out and shoot them. Because that makes you a man. But anyway.
And
I mean, there's nothing like
you're the
killing
third
an animal that
second
doesn't have a
country.
gun to shoot you back.
And then,
The audience.
and then most recently, Kevin and Gloria Copeland got in a little bit of trouble when they did the anti-vax thing, and they told everybody that they could just faith heal, they didn't need to vaccinate
Of course.
until an outbreak of measles erupted,
Please
which
tell me
was
they got measles.
which was identified to have emerged from their congregation.
Oh, fuck.
So like 200 people traced their measles to
Not
that
really
congregation.
bad.
And so Kevin and Gloria Copeland were actually forced with sermon.
They were scared they were going to get measles, Iron. That's why. They were like, if we don't cure
Oh
these
my
fuckers,
God.
we're going to get it.
Man, karma's
No
a bitch.
compunction, no morality. These people are money.
Until they might get measles, and then it controls me.
Isn't that how it always works? I might get measles, so let's do this shit the right way.
JK, JK, vaccines are okay with God, guys.
Isn't it funny how JK can just get you out of anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know what? We're coming up close to the end of the hour. I want to remind everybody who we're talking about. How do we contact you, and what are you doing now that would be of any interest to any?
I'm Healthy Addict pretty much everywhere. Twitter, the YouTube. I don't know if you guys have heard of the YouTube.
It's
Go on
a
your
system of
Google
two.
machine.
It's a lot like the MySpace, but with video. But no, so I do.
What's that at symbol? What do you sit
Are you, are you healthy?
Actually,
There's
I
a
think I am,
MySpace?
actually.
Yes.
Strangely enough, it goes way back.
If you still have MySpace.
So YouTube Healthy Addict, Twitter Healthy Addict, whole 9 yards.
Sadly, I do
Instagram,
not have
Snapchat.
a MySpace. By the time MySpace got to Romania, everybody was over it. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Cristina Rad, also known as Some Gets Chris, once upon a time, my favorite success story, really, because it was somebody who was recognized for her talent in a really big way. And as I mentioned before, she made really good videos, really consistently.
She's still making really good
Pa-
videos.
past tense, you noticed that, right?
Yeah, because
what
you know,
a jerk.
I love when you come up with new stuff, but you don't come up with enough.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
You put a video up today.
But sometimes she complains that she's in this little place by herself. She doesn't have any people that she can talk to. She's in an environment where nobody knows who she is. And at the same time, they fly her out after everything else that I told you about earlier. They flew her out to Reason Rally and had her on the National Mall
In the rain.
addressing 30,000 atheists. And you followed Richard Dawkins?
Yeah, I follow Richard
She
Dawkins.
followed Richard Dawkins.
That's because I kept on telling, like, I have stage fright, whatever you call it. I get really,
Putting an for you, honey.
yeah,
So, I mean,
right. It was terrifying.
I saw her the next day. She was giving a speech to just a few hundred people only, and she was all scared and twittering backstage. She goes, "I get such stage fright." And I'm like, "How the hell did you do this yesterday? Were you on Valium?"
No, I was freaking out. I was freaking the shit out.
It's only 30,000 people.
Especially when Dawkins got on stage, because I was after him, so I was behind the stage, so I could actually see the crowd for the first time. So all this mass of people come towards the center to hear Dawkins. I was like, ah.
And if you're not aware of what the view is that she's talking about, just imagine a sea of heads to the horizon.
Or Google
It
Reason
was-
Rally.
Yeah.
it was crazy pants.
Yeah.
It really was.
I don't know what crazy
Which is
pants
why-
mean, Probably, yeah.
I mean, Reason Rally 2016 is happening, right? I keep hearing.
Really?
Right.
That's apparently the president lives in DC, so
See,
it will be in
one
DC.
good
Now
thing
the
I learned from
treasurer
this show.
lives in DC.
Everything else was depressing.
The president lives in Nebraska.
Okay, so Mark, you got anything to close on?
Just go, if you live in the Mid-Atlantic, if you live
If
anywhere.
you live in the
the
middle,
Mid-Atlantic.
Like,
not
Your life sucks, man. Your life
in
sucks.
the Mid-Atlantic region of the United States. Go to ReasonNC.com. Check out ReasonCon. Get some tickets. Go there. The Ramen Podcast has sponsored all the speakers. You're welcome for that. And you know, just check it out. It's going to be a very good conference. We're excited to be part of
All right. I guess we're done.
That's it. That's it.
Next show is all about
Somebody
hair.
reach over there and hit the stop.
Ah.
Yeah, I guess we're stopping.
Good night.
Bye.
Y'all go.